This is your Fast Life Motorcycle channel, and we are about to get started. And basically, the point of this live stream is for us to go through the various types of bikes that I'm going to be covering in the series. So, if you just bear with me one moment. Let us get a background here. Here we go. All right, so basically, again, I'm going to be purchasing 10 years worth of bikes in 1 year. 365 days to my dream bike. But it's not just about my dream bike, it's also about your dream bike as well. I want you to follow this journey, and perhaps through community discussions, through my process of figuring out what's a dream bike for me and listening to others try to figure out what's a dream bike to them, you can then figure out what your dream bike is to you. So in this series, I'm going to be covering various types of bikes, and today I sat down, I defined what those different styles of bikes are going to be. So I wanted to basically share the definition of what these styles are. So I created these categories. The question is, what do these categories actually mean? Right? What do these categories actually mean? So you can kind of understand what the goals are and sort of where my head's at in terms of what I'm hoping to achieve with this project, specifically, in terms of the types of bikes that I'm going to go through. It's not just randomly, a whole bunch of bikes. I'm going to buy a whole bunch of bikes. Look at me ballin'. No, there's a reason for each bike. There is an objective for each bike, and there are categories of bikes that have a reason in the series. So the idea, once again, is to sort of explain what those reasons are. And again, the categories of bikes. So P, who was on the last live stream, wants to join in. So I'm going to see if I can get him on the live stream. Actually, he's just going to be on the phone, so I could probably just call him, and we can listen to him on. I guess the last time what we did is we did a Skype call. That's probably more ideal. So let me go ahead and get him on the phone, and then we're gonna go through the various categories of bikes. In the meantime, I'm gonna tell you guys what the categories are, and then we're gonna go in detail about each category. But before we do that, let's look at who's in the chat. We have Fast and Fearless in the chat. What is up? Good to see you. Give a thumbs up as you guys join the live stream. Give a thumbs up as you join the live stream, or I'm going to find you and you're not going to like it. That's a little bit over the top. Anyway, my microphone looks way too hot. Let's see if we can crank this down a little bit. Let's set the levels. Just bear with me 1 second. I don't want to be too out of control, so let's crank it down just a wee bit. Let's drop those levels down to 5 from 9. So this should be a little bit better. Not as loud as it was before. I just got to make sure I speak close to the microphone, otherwise it's going to be a problem. All right, so here are the categories of bikes. So the categories of bikes that I'm going to cover in this series: 365 DB19, 365 days to the dream bike. The categories that I'm going to be covering in this series are as follows. The first category is beginner bike. And again, we're going to qualify what these mean, what these categories mean in a little bit. Just bear with me 1 second. I want to go through the categories first. So beginner, next intermediate, next hoodlum bike. Yeah, I'm a hoodlum. I'm a rebel. Okay, we're going to explain what that's all about. Anyway, race bikes, and then touring bikes. Now, before you make any assumptions, I'm going to let you know right now that this is going to be a little bit different than what you might expect. Because remember, you know, just like my main channel, Carlisle's Picks, it's about sharing my passions, right? So a lot of this is going to be based on what I look for in a bike. And it's not just for people that share the same likes as me who are like, yeah, that's awesome. It's also for people that don't necessarily share the same likes, that are interested to hear about other riders and what they think about when they look at bikes. Just for curiosity, or some other people might actually be inspired in terms of, wow, I never thought about that type of bike. I never looked at things from that angle. I might try that one day. Just like me, for example. I used to be the small, lightweight, nimble bike, still am. Still love that bike, love technical tracks, right? You know, sharp turns. That's me. I like the technical. I'm not so much the drag strip. I'm not so much the straights, right? I'm all about getting my lean on, right? So I want super nimble. I've been shying away from big bikes for a long time. Then I started hearing about the 1000cc bikes being lighter weight and more nimble. And I said, okay, maybe I need to rethink things. And then I tried out the Hayabusa. And that's all she wrote. That is all she wrote. All those years of, oh, that's too much power. It's too big. Look at that fat bike. What are you going to do with that? Oh, you guys are just trying to show off because, you know, look how much horsepower I have. Look at me, my big Hayabusa, right? All those years of me sort of being clueless to what the Hayabusa is all about. And don't get me wrong. There's definitely people who have Hayabusas for the wrong reasons. There's people who have all types of bikes for the wrong reasons. But the Hayabusa is an amazing bike for a specific type of riding. And I never would have known that or understood that until I rode the bike. So how many of you are out there putting your thumbs down at certain types of bikes because you're stuck in your own head? You feel like, this is a bike for me. I'm all about the naked bikes. I'm all about the race bikes. I'm all about the whatever type of bike. How many of you are stuck in your ways? They're looking down at other styles of bikes. Ninja 250, that doesn't have enough power for me, right? That bike is too heavy. That bike is too powerful. What am I going to do with all that power on the street? It's useless, right? How many of you are stuck in your heads in terms of what you think is the ultimate bike for you? Meanwhile, missing out on great opportunities that you could be having by trying a different style of bike. Is that you? Is that you, Fast and Fearless? Or is that still me? I've broadened my horizons, right? I've opened my arms wide to the giant, the Hayabusa. Right? Previously, I didn't have the respect for it. Now I do. See, Kim can appreciate that. Right? But I haven't tried every single style of bike. I haven't fully explored everything that's out there. Could I actually one day be a Harley guy? That's another bike I look at like, Harley. Harley! That's for old guys! Sorry, anyone who gets offended by that. But, you know, maybe one day I might be a Harley guy. How about the Honda Goldwing? Honda Goldwing, what are you, nuts? You're a Ninja H2 guy. You're a 636 guy. You're a Daytona 675 guy. You're a Brutale guy. A Goldwing? Come on, guy. Well, I've never really ridden a Goldwing. So I can sit on the sidelines and judge people who ride Goldwings. I can take note of the type of rider who typically goes for a Goldwing. And I can say, I'm not like that guy. So why would I buy a bike that that guy buys? Without actually riding the bike and seeing what the bike is all about. But that wouldn't be very wise, would it? So, do you need to expand your horizons? Do I need to continue exposing or expanding my horizons? Well, that is the question. So, I think we went through all the categories. And let's do a quick check in the chat again. Who is in the chat? Oh, we got super chat. Revolver. Oslot. How do you pronounce that? Oslot just dropped $4.99. 499 cc. No, he dropped $4.99. He says, "What up? Loving the content. No one else is doing anything like this. Respect." I'm sorry, man. I know you just dropped a super chat, and I appreciate that. So I don't mean to be rude, but not respect to me. Respect to you. Respect to you for showing the love. Really appreciate it. Hundreds of thousands have enjoyed and benefited from the content, but it is you here who's stepping up and saying thank you, appreciate the content, and dropping that super chat. And for that, I say respect to you, Revolver. Revolver said I used to be like that. So I guess Revolver has changed. First bike, this is Fast and Fearless. Go check him out, Fast and Fearless. He says, first bike, RGV 250cc or Aprilia RS 250cc, fun and different. All right, so we're about to get P on the line. I gotta get him on the line real quick so we can continue this live stream. In the meantime, take a look at the first entry to the 365 DB19 series, the bike that I just purchased, and I'm gonna do a video talking about that whole process and how I paid the asking price. Never pay the asking price, guys. Always negotiate the price down. Never pay the asking price, guys. So you're sitting here telling people not to pay the asking price, yet you paid the asking price. What is your problem? Well, I'm gonna explain that, not in this video, but in the future, I will break that down. Also, the process. How did I pick a bike out in 48 hours, right? What was the process? Where did I look, right? What was my thought process in terms of which bike should I choose, right? So we're going to go over all those details very, very shortly. But right now, let's get P on the line. And in the meantime, you guys can take a look at this. The first bike of the series, the 2004, well, it's not, this is 03, but 2004 Ninja 250R.
Kawasaki EX250 Ninja, the Mazda MX-5 of sport bikes.
The MX-5 of sport bikes, no, got me feeling in the zone. But just don't call me a beginner.
The Ninja 250 is a motorcycle you buy for $1,000 and then sell for $1,000. This is the classic beginner motorcycle, but we're gonna get into the problems that name causes for the Ninja 250. And this is an $800 Ninja 250. It wasn't dropped twice, it was dropped thrice. That means twice on both sides. And it ran into something and broke the front fender, and one exhaust silencer is bent. This is a classic example of what the Ninja 250 looks like after many, many, many owners. The turn signals were replaced with those reprehensible flush mounts that are so dim drivers don't notice them, but every rider buys these turn signals when they drop their first bike and break off their stock signals because these eBay flush mounts are cheaper than OEM replacements. The foot shifter is bent, and the levers are from the same eBay seller as the turn signals. And the rear has one of those fender eliminator kits, but it runs like new. Ninja 250s are like Miatas. Abuse them, neglect them, and they don't die. My buddy Ted bought this Ninja 250 from a kid in his early 20s who admitted to dropping it just once. But he dropped it at least 4 times due to all the replacement stuff on these things. But a Ninja 250 can take it right on the chin. It's like Mark Hunt, but without all the swearing on Instagram. If you want to be specific, you'll call this the EX250 because the Ninja name is Kawasaki's catch-all brand for all of their sport bikes. The Ninja 250 being once the smallest. Of course, the 250 is gone now. Now it's the 300, a kind of different bike, but anyway, the Ninja 250 existed for so long, man. It's a parallel twin carbureted engine with full fairing plastic covers. It makes roughly 20 horsepower, although the stock rating is claimed to be around 30 to 35. It offers a 6-speed manual transmission and absolutely no throttle whatsoever in first gear. also shockingly quiet, which is kind of crazy when you consider this bike redlines at 14,000 RPM. Yeah, I know it's a 248cc engine, but whatever, 250. And it bugs me to no end when people put sport exhausts on these things. You're doing the bike zero favors if you put a sports... Unless you're putting big carburetors on this thing, there's no reason to have anything but the stock pipes on it. Ugh. Anyway, you see with the Ninja 250, Kawasaki got cute with it. The cylinder compression ratio, rear sprocket, ignition timing advance were increased while the carburetor diameter was decreased to create engine revs higher and to get the red line faster. Why? Because when you turn 18, grandma starts giving you $20 to PBS instead of Christmas cards to you. This is a liquid-cooled bike, and it has a temperature gauge, whereas most beginner bikes don't. I mean, it makes sense that you'd want a temperature gauge with a liquid-cooled engine, but it's different enough on a bike like this to almost feel like a feature in and of itself. On the subject...
Alright guys, so P is not going to be able to join us right now. He is doing his fatherly duties. Congratulations for being a good father. I think he's already got his son on a motorcycle already. That's all he's doing right now, but I think he had sent me a picture of his son on a little dirt bike. I love when I see riders that have kids and they start their kids off really young. I mean, doing it the right way. Try to be safe and try to be smart about it, you know, because obviously there's dangers involved with riding motorcycles, and we don't want to endanger the young ones. But if done right, it actually could be something that could save the life of your kid, because if your kid is going to get involved in riding motorcycles, you know, by you starting them at a very young age, you're sort of empowering them to sort of acquire a lot of skills really young and become a really good rider, right? To just have a lot of practice and skills from the young. And dirt bikes, you learn about sliding around. I mean, you could be so much better of a rider starting from a very young age, and that could actually equate to a more safe riding experience because of those skills that you gain from a childhood. Like, I wish I paused because there's two sides to that. I wish I would have started riding as a kid. I didn't start riding until I was I don't know, well into my 20s or something. I had the passion from when I was a kid. I had a passion for motorcycles from when I was 10 years old, 12 years old, but I never got on a motorcycle until I was in my 20s. Mid to late 20s, I think, is when I started riding motorcycles. Why I paused is because although that would have been great to have all those extra skills from more experience and from starting on dirt, for example, sliding around and things like that, that would translate to the street as well. I was a little bit... I'm crazy now, but I'm crazy as a older guy who has the supposed wisdom of age, right? I'm definitely much more mature and sensible than I was when I was younger. And, you know, old guy me doesn't like the idea of young guy me at 21 on a motorcycle. I was just a little bit too wild, shall we say, and I don't know what I would have got myself into. I mean, maybe like I said, my whole point, maybe I would have had the skills to get away with whatever craziness I would have done at such a young age, with all that adrenaline and immaturity and living too much in it now and not thinking about consequences. Maybe I would have gotten away with it because I would have had such immense skills from learning as a kid, or maybe I would have even with those skills, overridden those skills. Maybe those skills would have made me ride harder, right? Even harder, to the point where even those skills are not enough, right? Who knows how things would have turned out. So, what is it? Hindsight is 2020, whatever, however the saying goes. So anyway, let's go through the list of bike categories. So basically, okay, so P's saying he can join right now. I guess he'll listen in, and then he'll jump in when he can. So let's do the audio call. Boom 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 boom.
What's going on, man?
And we got P on the line.
Yo.
So what are you gonna do? Are you jumping in now, or are you just gonna stay on the call until you're ready?
No, I could jump in now. I'm ironing clothes, man, because I mean I'm ironing for the whole week. So If I wait, man, you may be done.
All right.
If you want to jump in, add me in.
All right, we're live right now, just so you know. Just so you know.
Yeah.
So don't reveal no secrets, man. Don't put your social security number out there. Don't put your address. You know what I'm saying? You're live. The world is listening to you right now, my friend.
What's going on, everybody?
All right, guys. This is the guy with the wonderful bike, the KTM what?
RC8R.
RC8R. You guys remember that video that we did some time ago? And perhaps we'll talk a little bit about that bike a little bit later on. But let's get to the point. We don't want to waste any time. We want to get through this real quick and efficient. So I'm going to take a quick look in the chat before we run through the list one more time, and then we're going to dive deep into each category. So right now, let's see. And you guys let me know how the sound is as well. If the sound is good enough, if you can hear myself and P on the other line. Where the hell is the chat? I popped it out and I don't see nothing. Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna pop you guys out 1 second. 1 second here. There we go. Chat and pop out the chat. There we go. All right, so we got Fast and Fearless. I'm gonna start my kids next year at 7. So Pete, just let you know, I was telling him about how I believe you started your son riding at a young age. Is that true, or am I lying?
No, 3 years old.
3 years old, you started your son on what bike?
PW50, Yamaha.
PW50 Yamaha. So where's your son's skills at right now? Is he doing wheelies? Is he doing track days? What's he doing?
He's doing track days, and May 5th, 6th, whatever day that is, that's a Saturday, he's actually going to be in his first race. He's been racing BMX, though, since he was 3 years old.
Wow.
He will be on his first motocross race May 5th, 6th. I don't have a calendar in front of me, but whatever day that Saturday falls on, he will be racing.
Wow. Okay. That's awesome, man. So let's run through the categories real quick. So once again, we're buying 10 years worth of bikes in 1 year. 365 days to dream bike. It's hashtag 365DB19. 19 is for 2019. That's when the series concludes, when I make the final decision on what the ultimate dream bike is for me. And I hope that you guys will also decide for yourselves, and perhaps some of you will actually be able to acquire your dream bikes as well, because this is going to be a learning journey for myself and you guys following along. I'm sure through the information and interviews and things like that, it'll help for you guys to figure out what a dream bike means for you. So that's the plan, that's the project. So other than picking out the specific bikes that I'm going to be buying, there's going to be categories of bikes, right? Because I want to cover a lot of different aspects of what I look for in motorcycles, right? So based on that, there's going to be categories of bikes, and there's going to be amount of bikes for each category, right? So the categories are as follows: beginner bike, intermediate bike, hoodlum bike, oh yeah, and then race bike, and then touring bike. And as I said before, these categories are your fast life motorcycle categories. Yay. So don't make any assumptions. Like when you hear touring bike, it's probably not what you're thinking, right? What I call a touring bike that meets what I'm looking for in a bike is not really the standard perception of what a touring bike should be, right? Each one of us needs to define what works for us, right? It's not about what's popular or what the manufacturers say or all that other stuff. It's about what works for you. So when I say touring bike, I'm not talking about you go to a dealership and you say, what are the best touring bikes to buy? What do you have? No, I'm talking about the kind of bike that I would tour on, right? Whether I'm a really wacky guy and I want to go touring on a Honda Gram, right?
Maybe you're crazy.
Maybe that's my thing, right? Maybe that's my thing. I'm a minimalist. I like small things and blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, you do you, right? So it's my touring bike, not what the manufacturers say is a touring bike. So I might even violate their categories. You know, they may call this a whatever, and I'd be like, no, I want to use that for something else. All right, so go ahead.
I think if you was to ride from the East Coast all the way to California on a Grom, when you get there, I think Honda would give you a Goldwing.
They be like, look, brother, like, we appreciate it. You know, that was good for the brand and marketing, but let's get you on a Goldwing, man, because
Absolutely, man.
you need it, man. It hurt us. It hurt us watching you on that Grom, man. You know what I'm saying? We were getting nightmares. We're like, we hope he's all right, man. We hope he's all right on the highway on the Grom.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure somebody tried it, man.
Okay, so let's start with category number one. So category number one is beginner bike, right? So beginner bike, obviously, getting started. My philosophy on getting started, which you guys know, is something cheap, something lightweight, something older, and for me, I take that a little bit more extreme because, like, look at the 2004 Ninja I bought. I bought that thing knowing I'm gonna have to do some work on it, and I think that's awesome. For you to start out on a bike, not just learning to ride, but learning how to fix your own bike. Like, that to me is the ultimate way to get initiated into bikes. You're learning the mechanics of the bike, and you're learning how to handle the bike, and nowhere in there is much concern about, ooh, I might drop the bike I just spent $6,000 on. Look at these shiny fairings. I don't want to scratch them. I'm not worried about that, right? I got 2004. It's already got scratches on it. You know what I mean? It's not a pretty bike, so I don't really care about the looks of it. You know, if I drop it, whatever. If I don't drop it, whatever, right? That's the way I look at it. So the other thing is that's not for everyone. So we're going to look at some newer beginner bikes. Ninja 300, Ninja 400, KTM 390 Duke, right? BMW. What's the BMW bike you told me about?
310R.
310R, right? We're going to look at some of these other models of beginner bikes, but the basic idea is something low power, you know, beginner friendly. You don't want crazy brakes. You don't want crazy acceleration. And for me, I like the older bikes, so you don't have to worry about scratching it. So that's the beginner category. Nothing really exciting there. I mean, it'll be exciting for a new rider, right? Because as a new rider, I'm riding a bike, look at me, you know. But for us more experienced riders, not a lot of excitement there. But the next thing is intermediate. So intermediate is you, and I guess I was supposed to show this while I was talking about it. There's a 390 KTM Duke there.
Love it. You know that's me, man.
You love that bike.
Oh, absolutely.
Why?
For one, I'm a big KTM fan. And then also, too, here's the thing with the 390. The 390 has to be, I want to say, not only the best looking 390, but that's a really, really nice bike. I mean, there's some 600s and some 1000s that don't look as good as that bike does.
I think I'd have to agree with you on that, man. That bike definitely looks very sexy, and I've looked at some of the features, and for what you're getting as a beginner bike, there you see right there, 39 horsepower, 9,500 RPMs, 23.6 foot-pounds of torque, some nice tech package with some pretty decent options as a beginner bike, and it's 390 cc, so that's a good amount of power. I'm gonna tell you right now, the 250, if you rev that thing up, get it up to its sweet spot, I mean, a lot of people dismiss it because compared to the 1000 cc or whatever, yeah, of course, it's nothing compared to that, but it's still fun. It's lightweight and it goes. Now, this is a 390. You know what I mean? If the 250 is as fun as it is, imagine another lightweight bike, but with so much more power. That's got to be a blast. So that's beginner. We're talking about beginner. Then the next thing is the intermediate bike. So you've started. There's my ZX6R video that I did not too long ago. But so you started riding. You start to feel more comfortable, and now you're looking for something with a little bit of power. You don't want to go too crazy. 1000 cc might be a little bit too much for you. So you have 500 cc bikes. You have 600 cc bikes. You have bikes like the Ninja 636. What are some other intermediate bikes? Would you say, Pete? What do you recommend? This is somebody who just spent 2 years on a Ninja 250. They're really comfortable on the bike, and now they want to get some power, but they want They want to take them. They don't want to go crazy, right? They want to something in the middle. What do you recommend?
Um, that's a good question. And the reason I say that's a good question is because nowadays things are different than the way they were back in the day. And what I mean by that is a lot of the bikes coming in that intermediate, well, I don't want to say a lot of them, but a few of the bikes coming in the intermediate section have power modes. So even if you feel the bike may have more power than what you need at that time, you can always select a power mode that is, less on power than what it would be, let's say, like in standard mode. And we talked about the 390 as a beginner bike, but the 390 is on that borderline. It could be a beginner bike, and it could also be an intermediate bike. You have pretty much all of the 600s, whether it be the 636 by Kawasaki, whether it be the R6, Gixxer 600, CBR 600. Those are all really good intermediate bikes on the sport side. Then, you have like your sport touring bikes that would be, great for intermediate riders as well.
Absolutely. So that's some good thoughts and good ideas for the intermediate bike. And now we need to jump up to the next category. Are we up to hoodlum yet? Let's see. Let me see what category. I got to pull up my list right now. So we did intermediate. Yep, hoodlum bike is next. So and by the way, the intermediate category, I put a sort of a subtitle, stretching your legs, right? So beginner bike, you're just getting started. Intermediate bike, you're stretching your legs. You're starting to figure out who you are as a rider. Like what type of bike works best for you based on, you got your first bike, your first riding experience, and you figured out sort of what works for you and what didn't work for you type of thing. So now you're looking at, going further into deciding, what type of rider am I, right? So that's the stretching your legs. So once you stretch your legs, you got the intermediate bike, you really got into it. Maybe you did a couple of track days, you put a lot of miles down, and you're really getting a hang of this motorcycle thing, and you're really getting a hang of defining who you are as a rider, what bikes work for you. Now you want to make that next jump. Now, what jump you make depends on your riding style, but for someone like me, if I were to go over again and go through my riding career, one of the styles of bikes that I might want to consider is what I call a hoodlum bike. So the subtitle for that I have here is roller coaster all day. That's how I define it. Roller coaster all day. What the hell do I mean by that? I'm going to tell you guys in a second, but let's go to the chat real quick and see what you guys are saying. Let's see. Was some sort of Fast and Fearless said he thought DB19 was some sort of supercar. No, it is 365 DB19. 365 days to dream bike. No, it's not. It's not some kind of supercar. But I know what you're thinking about. Revolver says, "Damn kids always getting in the way." That's just a joke, and we appreciate that. Fast and Fearless, I'm going to start my kids next year at age 7. I did the same with my oldest daughter, and she now 18. I started when I was 16. Nice. Sound is good, loud and clear. Fast and Fearless says H2SE. I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, we're doing beginner bikes. I don't know why he's talking about H2 as a beginner bike, but anyway, Fast and Fearless. Redlining from coast to coast. I think that's referring to the Grom cross country. Final comment, Fast and Fearless, CBR 250 or the FZR 250 were great from the old days. The 390 has the 390 has too high of brake horsepower for insurance over here in Ireland. Interesting. You hear that, P? He's saying that the 390 has too much brake horsepower for insurance over here in Ireland. I guess he means as a beginner, maybe, as a beginner who doesn't have much money, like a young kid or whatever. Maybe the prices are crazy because of the horsepower, because they're different in Europe. It's different in terms of they're a little crazy with you starting out on bikes and stuff like that. They restrict what you can buy.
Yeah, I think they have like CC restriction based off of age.
Yeah, so to us in the United States, we're like, what are you talking about, man? 390, but you got to realize things are different across the globe. So let us move on to the hoodlum bike category. 1 second, one moment. I'm pulling up the next bike after that, trying to keep things going here. So the hoodlum bike, what is a hoodlum bike all about? I said roller coaster all day. So what does that mean, roller coaster all day? We're talking about bikes like the right here, the 2018 MV Agusta Brutale 800RR, or the Dragster, which is actually the bike that I wanted to put in here, but the Brutale is a good one as well. I think the Dragster is a little bit more of a crazy bike. Let's actually, is that the Dragster? Is that the Dragster is that a model of Brutale? Maybe that's why this came up. I'm not sure, but just to be safe, let's look at the actual Dragster video right here. So I had the privilege of riding on one of the predecessors to this bike, and oh my goodness, I mean, that thing is a beast. I mean, it's just so much low end grunt. I mean, you twist that throttle and it's just like vroom, and it's just, I love bikes like that because the power is so street friendly. It's not all about the high RPMs like a lot of these race bikes. I mean, this is, when I say hoodlum bike, when I say roller coaster all day, that's what I'm talking about. As soon as you twist that throttle from the light, or even after you already got going, it's just ready to go. I mean, if you're into wheelies, I mean, we're talking about wheelie monsters. We're talking about torque monsters. So that is the next category of bike that I want to cover. And we definitely want to cover one of the electric bikes. Zero has a bike that is absolutely insane in terms of the power delivery. I mean, you know, those electric bikes, you get all the power right away. So that's got to be insane. So we're definitely going to cover that. P, comments on hoodlum bikes. What do you think about this category of bike, and what do you like for this category of bike?
I'm not a. The MV Augusta is a nice bike. A lot of people like it. I'm not a fan. But it is a really nice bike. You know, don't get me wrong. Listen, the Honda Accord is a really nice car, but I don't like it.
How are you gonna bring that up in the context of this conversation? Come on, man. You know you're wrong for that. Come on.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm just saying that. You know, I just want people to understand. You know, that I don't want anyone to think that I don't like the MV, but I do. When you look at hoodlum bikes, the first thing that come to my mind is wheeling. You know, to be honest with you. And when I think about that, I'll give you a bike that I think is perfect, and that's the Yamaha MT-09. It used to be called the FZ-09, but it's now the MT-09. Yamaha changed the name to match the same, you know, to keep it consistent with Europe, because in Europe it was the MT, over here was the FZ, but over here now it's the MT. The MT-09, if you're doing a search or on YouTube, or an FZ-09, same bike. This is like the perfect wheelie machine. That's one. And then the other one, if you want to pull this one up, this one is actually new. Yeah, look at that. That's the MT right there. That's a really, really nice bike. Really nice bike. You're talking ABS is available, traction control, 3 power modes, slipper clutch. I'm pretty sure I'm missing something else on it, but really nice bike, and believe it or not, it's actually a triple. You know, it's a 3-cylinder.
I know what you're missing. I can tell you what you're missing.
What's that?
That bike is damn sexy.
It is, man. It is, and you see those wheels with that gray is like very popular. Like, I've seen Ford use it, I've seen Honda use it, and Yamaha actually use it as well.
Okay, you see, that's why I like you, P. You just have some really cool ideas in terms of. I like to hear your suggestions on bikes like that because
Thank you.
I really love the dragster and everything, and that is a sexy bike. It's got the triple, but I don't know, man. You tell me about this MT-09. I'm like, okay, whatever. I pull it up and I'm looking at it, and right away I'm just like, man, this that looks kind of crazy, man.
Well, I'll give you another one to pull up. And I may need to double check this because, like I said, they changed it. They're running with that MT category. So here's another one that you want to pull up, and this is actually my favorite, the MT10.
Really?
Yeah. So they got the MT07, they got the MT09, which you just pulled up. Sorry, and then they have the MT10. Check that out. That the MT10 is actually based on the R1.
Wait, Riding with Tom got one apparently. I haven't watched his videos in a while. I gotta check him out. Actually, let's pull that up. He does pretty good work. Shout out to Riding with Tom. Hopefully, we can finally link up this year. I've been talking about that for years now. Let's see. MT
09. Yeah, it is.
09.
It
So
is.
there's 09 and you got the 10.
Yep. So the 10, that's the 10 there. I don't care for that color scheme in particular that they have, but the one that the color scheme that I like is that gray with those they got I want to say neon wheels, but there's a word that they're using now for that color. I can't think of the name of it. But yeah, really, really, really nice bike.
I think he was kind of wheeling in a turn at that. Nice. That bike looks mean, man. You know what I like about it? It looks militant. Like I could see this bike being, a military issue type of thing. You know what I mean? Like that's like here's what it is. In the future, right? Like what is it? RoboCop. You know what I mean? Something like that. I could see put some guns on that thing and whatever. I could totally see that in the future. That's what that looks like. Wow. Transformer. Yep. All right, cool. All right, so we're almost done. Let's continue. We got 2 more categories, I think. So we have race bikes. So the subtext for that is I am Rossi. I am Rossi. So race bike, I mean, we kind of had a race bike already, but I'm going to put in the classic bike, absolutely, the Kawasaki Ninja ZX-10R.
You can't leave that bike out at all, man.
Really?
You can't. That bike is man, for anybody that watch World Superbike, the 10 is always a top contender.
Well, we absolutely love the Ninja ZX-10, especially Chris Carter knows what we're talking about, and my cousin as well. We add him on the channel as well. One of the things he's always said, not only the power of the ZX-10, but he also referenced one of the things he loves about it is the comfort on the ZX-10. What's your comments on that?
On the ZX-10?
Yep.
Well, to be honest with you, I actually met your cousin because I had a Kawasaki.
Yeah.
That's actually how me and Drew met. We both had 636s, and from there we jumped up to the 3rd generation of the ZX-10, and he actually jumped up to the 4th generation. And at that time, I was actually looking at the 4th generation, but I didn't pull the trigger. But I actually saw him like 2 days ago, and his bike sounds amazing.
Yeah, he's having some orgasms over there about his bike. I mean, he's had the bike. But it's like he's again like, oh man, she sounds so good. Oh man, I took the bike out yesterday and ooh, I'm like, dude.
Yeah.
That says a lot when you've had a bike for a minute and it's not the first bike of that model. Like you've had older ones and you're still getting excited riding it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And listen, every bike he has had has always been green. I've never seen him with any other color. True to Kawasaki.
All right, so we have. Wow, I actually forgot a category. Final
What was
category should be dream bike. I mean, that's the whole point, right? But anyway, the next category is touring bike. So touring bike is, I think, one of the first categories that is kind of a deviation from the standard. So, like, if I type in, let's see, 2018 touring motorcycle review, let's see what comes up. So we got the Honda Goldwing, which I might be doing a test ride on. Like I said, expand your horizons, but that's not what I think about when I think about a touring bike. We see another, I think that's another Goldwing right there. So I'm getting nothing but Goldwings. Now I got an adventure bike coming up. None of these bikes are, oh, look at this thing. Look at this. What is this? Have you seen this? 2018 Yamaha Star Venture.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what Yamaha has that they didn't have in the past, which is actually the competition to the Goldwing. They have the Yamaha Transcontinental Touring, which is the Star Venture, and they have the Star Eluder, which is, to me, the Eluder is more like the competition for the Harley-Davidson Street Glide, and the Star Venture is the direct competition for the Honda Goldwing.
So here's the thing, and this is something I ran into as well when I was doing. So I'm also going to be doing cars as well. So one of the key two vehicles that I'm looking at, and there's a big debate around, is the Mercedes-Benz C63 versus the BMW M2. Now, every time I mention these two, I want to say bikes, these two cars, everyone's telling me, C63, man, you gotta get the C63, man. And I'm just like, I'm not really feeling the I mean, I shouldn't say that. I am feeling the C63. That car is mean. It's a monster. The interior, yeah, I am feeling the C63. But versus the M2,
I would take it over the M2.
not so much. Even you are thinking that way. And I'll tell you, and I'll tell you why, right? Why I go with the M2 over the C63. Again, deviation, it's about what works for you versus what is the standard thing or standard way to go. A lot of people looking at the C63, it's got way more horsepower. It's got a much better interior. I mean, it's an absolute beast. It's something you can be comfortable in. Also, sort of be a little bit of a hoodlum in if you want to. It seems like it's got everything all in one, and that's awesome. I'm not being sarcastic. That is awesome. However, that's not what I'm looking for. I don't look for an all well-rounded whatever. No, I want purpose-built, like purpose-driven, focused vehicle. My thing with vehicles, what I look for is violence. What I look for is emotion, intensity, connection with the vehicle. I want handling. I want an absolute monster. Now, these two cars are monsters in their own lights, but the problem with the C63 to me is I look at it as a typical overweight Mercedes-Benz. Those cars are bigger. They're more about luxury. Again, that would be more comfortable, but I don't care about comfort. Screw your comfort. Screw your space. I want the more nimble of the two. I want the one that's faster around the track. Right? That's what I want. The fact that the M2 with a much smaller engine and less power beats the C63 around the track, that's what matters to me. But that's my preference. Why do you choose the C63 over the M2?
I haven't really went into details on all of them. I mean, you'll laugh at the car that I really choose over both of them. I'll take a Focus RS over both of those cars. But if I've been in the BMW family before, I had two of them. So if I was going to get something, it would be this. It would be the C63. Just to switch it up.
So it's more switching it up than it is you actually liking that one better than the other.
Well, I also think it looks better than the M2.
Oh, you think it looks better? Okay.
Right. But then when you hit the nail on the head when you said purpose driven. In that case, I'm going for the Focus RS because we talking 350 horsepower, 350 foot-pounds of torque on a very light hatchback. That's my speed.
All right.
And I'm more of a coupe guy. I'm not. I don't really care for the four doors.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
I just need a car for me and a lady. That's it. I don't need nobody else getting it. I'm joking with you, Carl. Man, I'm joking.
yo, I'm gonna leave this out there. I'm gonna put this out there. So in regards to your comment, joke or not,
Uh-huh.
I used to have this attitude of, you never know when you might want to like go somewhere with your buddy or your buddies, right? You never know when you might be going to a family outing and, such and such cousin or such and such cousin's son, needs a ride. You know what I mean? So even though I really wanted the ultimate sports cars, I want those two-seaters, the convertibles, and all that kind of stuff, I went and I said, let me get something that has some kind of sensible, back seat. It's a coupe, but it's got a decent back seat. And you know what? I did that, and I almost never had anyone in the back seat. I was just like, why did I buy this car, not the one I wanted, buy this car just for this back seat that I'm not even using? So I'm past that. I don't care. Screw passengers. All I need is one seat on the side for the ladies.
That's it, man.
Or in case she's listening, the lady.
Okay, yeah. Hey,
Yeah.
don't get in no trouble, man.
There's only one lady. Just want to make that clear.
Speaking of ladies, man, that's one reason why a lot of these guys get sport touring bikes or touring bikes, because they have a lady in their life that wants to travel. She wants to be comfortable, and those bikes a lot of times come with heated seats and comfortable padding. You can you can sit down for 700-800 miles and be okay.
Okay, guys, I have to end the live stream. I just got a text from somebody who says she's listening. So anyway, yeah. So as I said before, the lady. Anyway, let us continue. If you guys can see how red my face looks right now. Anyway, so touring bikes. So as far as touring bikes goes, again, deviation from the standard. People think about comfort and all this kind of stuff. And I appreciate comfort. I don't want to go 3-4 hours on a bike that's not comfortable. However, the fundamental theme that I look for in terms of what I look for in bikes, I'm really a sports bike guy, right? I want handling, I want power, I want precision. That's really what I want. The problem with that is that package doesn't really do well with long distances because of comfort issues, right? So when I think about a touring bike, I look towards hypersports, right? That's the touring bike for me. The typical touring bike, I don't want those big, heavy, clumsy. Well, again, open your horizons. I haven't really ridden on those bikes, so maybe I get on a Goldwing and I'm like, yeah, this is cool. But for what I know, I want to be on a sports bike. So if I'm going to be doing long distance riding, I'm going to be on the long distance riding bike that's most like a sports bike. So we're talking about the ZX14, or we're talking about the Hayabusa, which has that torque, that power, and I can actually lean it in the twisties. I mean, it's a little bit of a experience, but it can be done. So Hayabusa ZX14R, that's what I call a touring bike. What about you, P? What do you think?
Well, I think a lot of manufacturers had the same idea that you have, and that's why they came out with what they consider sport touring. So what they did was they took a lot of these motorcycles, like a ZX10, or for instance, going back to when we talked about the MT09, which is the same thing as the FZ09. Yamaha made an FJ09, which is a triple motor. It's a touring motorcycle, but it handles like a sport bike, and that's what I like. I like the sport touring category. You get the touring, but you also get the sport. It's a win-win.
Absolutely. So I think I agree, and I think that's what sort of the thought process is behind these types of bikes. So I will leave this with a final note. So if ultimately a sport bike is what I want, right, and I don't really want a big heavy bike, right, then the next progression to the ultimate touring bike for me would have to be a lighter weight, more nimble bike, and that would be possibly the Ninja H2S. Was it SX or SE?
SX.
SX, right?
Really nice bike.
Because you now have a supercharger, so you can have a smaller bike, more lightweight, more in tune with the sport bikes that I love so much, but it's a more comfortable bike. I think there's like bags you can get for it and all this kind of stuff. The question is, how comfortable is it? I don't know how comfortable it is compared to a Boozer with that big fat seat that's so nice, and how smooth is it? I don't know.
Right. Well, I sat on the bike.
Oh, you did?
I didn't do any riding, so I don't know what it's like riding. But, my initial butt thoughts is that it's comfortable. I got a chance to sit on it, and I also sat on the Ninja 400 as well. The thing with the SX and those bikes, I mean, all bikes in general, they all getting expensive. If I'm not mistaken, I think that SX is, you could pull it up. I think it's at about 18 grand.
I think you're about right. Let's take a look. So the Ninja H2 SX. So we're about to wrap up this live stream. The final bike we're going to cover is just going to be the Dream bike, but we're going to take a quick look at the Ninja H2 SX. So Revolver in the chat, he made an interesting comment when we were talking about getting the back seat or not getting the back seat. So Revolver says, throw his ass some bus fare. So that's to the buddy or the family member that needs a ride. He also says Honda Interceptor is a cool tourer. It falls a little flat on the mid-range, above mid-range. Honda Interceptor. What do you think about that?
It falls flat on the face too because it doesn't look good.
Oh, wow.
That's why. Hey, I'm not picking on him or anything. I didn't mention the bike because it doesn't look good.
I don't know what this guy is talking about, but I find it interesting that the review that motorcycle.com does on the SE, SX, I keep saying SE. Well, SX SE, is that the full name? Because it says SX SE in the review.
Yeah, they got two models. They got an E model.
Oh, okay.
Which I think the suspension is electronic.
Okay. So I just find it interesting that the review that they post is by a gentleman who is showing his silver, his distinguished silver, and he's sitting on the bike reading a book apparently. So I don't know what the message is that's being portrayed here, but anyway, I just thought that was interesting. And
you can't go wrong on a bike.
We will move on from that. So as far as the Dream bike, now I know a lot of you guys are going to make assumptions about what the Dream bike is going to be, and maybe you end up being correct. But I will honestly tell you, I do not know what the Dream bike is going to be. However, and naturally, any of you guys that know, but there is dreams and there is reality. So although on paper this seems like the ultimate bike for someone like me, the thing is, in reality, is it actually the Dream bike? So that's something I'm going to look to figure out through the series. But this concludes this live stream. That's just going through all the basic categories. So the beginner category, you're just starting out, something cheap, something you don't care about dropping so much,
right.
Something where you can focus on learning. And P actually does a lot of motorcycle instruction. We're going to be talking a lot about that this summer. You do the, what is it,
MSF, Motorcycle Safety Foundation.
So he does the MSF courses. So basically people can go to him and learn how to ride motorcycles. And I'm sure you guys use like Honda Rebels and things like that. What kind of bikes do you guys use?
We got the Honda Rebel. We got the Suzuki TU250. We actually got some Z125s in the class. We got a Honda Nighthawk. We got a Kawasaki, and we have a TW200. Before you go, I just want to let everybody know what my dream bike is. We may have to take a donation, set up a GoFundMe account or something when this is all said and done. But I want everybody to take a look at the Ducati Panigale V4.
The Ducati Panigale V4. That is your dream bike. Let's see. Let's take a look. Oh, that's the new one. I heard about that. Panigale V4. First time riding. Snoo J apparently has one.
Oh, yeah?
Today we are at SoCal Motorcycles in Brea. As you can see, don't show them yet. Don't show them what I want to show them. Today is a very special day. It's going to be my first time to do this. What I'm about to do, I'm about to ride a motorcycle that I've never been on in my entire life. I'm gonna let the
Well,
You know what? I was gonna say something. I just saw one of the comments by Fast and Fearless where he said that he had the first gen ZX10, and man, listen, that bike, the first generation ZX10 is probably the only 1000 I ever been on where I actually initially was scared to ride. That bike had pure power.
I heard a lot about older ZX10s in terms of being a little bit of, I think there was one that was really bad in terms of the Widowmaker, just like the SV1000, which is another classic Widowmaker.
Yeah. The first generation ZX10, that's where it's at, man. That bike was amazing. We talking pure power, no electronics. That bike was, that year it came out, man. There was a lot of people that unfortunately they weren't making it. That bike took a lot of lives. That bike was pure. I'm saying pure power, fun to ride, but you had to be very careful.
Let me ask you something, and I should know the answer to this as a previous SV rider. Do you know why the SV1000 was considered a Widowmaker? What was wrong with that bike?
You know what? I'm not sure. I wasn't a huge SV fan.
SV1000 Widowmaker.
Oh man, Revolver said Ducatis are beautiful but sound like tractors.
You know what? Who said that? Let's kick him out of the chat. Who said that?
Yeah.
Who said that? Fast and Fearless?
Nah, Revolver.
Revolver. You know what? I'm gonna return your super chat donation. I'm kicking you out of the chat, man. You got no right to say that, my friend. Actually, you're not my friend anymore. So I'm just kicking you out of the chat. I'm sorry, guy.
Hey,
It's all love. It's all love.
Fast and Fearless also said that he was going to start his kids next year at the age of 7. I remember you mentioned that earlier.
Yeah.
I'm just curious what he's going to start them on.
Fast and Fearless, did you tell us what you're going to start your kids on? I thought you did. I did first generation. Yeah, I'm not sure. I thought he did. She's now 18, starting when she was 16. 7 did the same. Yeah, he didn't mention the bike in context of the kid. So, Fast and Fearless, if you're still there, I don't know if you're sleeping. because I don't have any good jokes today, so you might have fallen asleep. A cat named Speedmon Z slayed 650 Eves H2, a first generation ZX10.
No. Yeah.
That's just what Revolver is claiming that actually occurred. I love Ducatis though, LOL. All right, guys. So we are gonna wrap up this live stream right about now.
Hi, I'm Carlisle, and I really love cars and motorcycles. Over the last month, I've seen an increase in over 3,500 subscribers and close to 1 million views. Now, if you know anything about YouTube, you know it's really hard to get subscribers, it's really hard to get views. I've told many people that I bleed gasoline. It just runs in my veins. If you're as passionate about motorcycles and cars as I am, then you're definitely gonna love this channel and you're definitely gonna wanna subscribe. And not just because we both share the same passion for cars and motorcycles, but also because this channel is one of the most subscriber dedicated channels on YouTube by far. We're already doing awesome things like giving away free prizes like one of these Drift Innovation Ghost S cameras, and I'll be giving away other things like that. I am definitely going to earn every single subscription that I have. Every one of the 21,000 subscribers I have absolutely earned. I've really put my heart into this channel, really dedicated to producing some of the most awesome and original content right here on this channel. A lot of other channels, they kind of dump videos and they run. I actually established a relationship with my subscribers. I've met them in person, I've done live hangouts, I've done motivational videos to help them achieve their dreams. I get emails from people all the time asking for advice and tips and suggestions, and I do stuff like that. I did a request video on an electric motorcycle, over 300,000 views. That was a recommendation directly from my subscribers. I even did a video on exotic cars that was requested.
Who the hell is this guy, man? With his damn commercial. Your Fast Life is the most awesome channel in the whole world. Please subscribe to me. I do all these videos and all these things. Jeez Louise. Damn. Anyway, thank you, P, for joining us on the live stream. Really appreciate it. And thank you, Revolver,
Absolutely.
and also Fast and Fearless for joining in. Really appreciate it. Everybody, ride safe, shiny side up, and you are watching your Fast Life motorcycle channel, the most awesome motorcycle channel in the universe. Yay, yay!
Peace.
And we're out.